Yes, hello viewers. Yes, this is Ranjana ma'am, and you are watching. Yes, it's mine as well as your channel. And yes, many of you have requested me, my ISC students, for Act 1, Scene 7 of Macbeth. I know I don't need to tell all this because you have seen the thumbnail where I have put it. This video is about the scene where Macbeth plans, or rather he is in a state of conflict whether he should murder Duncan or not, and Lady Macbeth with her vocal tonic inspires him, or rather urges him to do this. So what are we waiting for? But before I continue with this, you know what's coming. If you have not subscribed to my channel up till now, please do, and don't forget to press the like button once you have viewed the whole video, and I'm sure you'll like it. So let's start. Yeah, so we are back, and now we'll start Act 1, Scene 7 of Macbeth. So this is a room in the castle. Hautboys and torches enter and pass over the stage. A sewer and divers servants with dishes and service. So these are all the, or should we say, lower characters, insignificant characters. And now who comes? Macbeth. Then enter Macbeth. This speech of Macbeth is very, very important, mind you. So Macbeth, if it were done, when it is done, then it were well it were done quickly. If the assassination could trammel up this consequence and catch up with his Cersei's success, but that this blow might be the be all and end all here. But here, upon this bank and shoal of time, we jump the life to come. But in these cases, we still have judgment here. And this line is very, very important, that we but teach bloody instructions, which when being taught, return to plague the inventor. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips. So Macbeth is in a state of fix. He is debating as to the pros and cons of the action. He feels that yes, if we have to do it, it is better that we do it very fast. Means he doesn't like this period of delay. Why? Because it is more torturing, that you have to do something and you are waiting for it to be done, and in the meantime what happens, you suffer a lot of problems, lot of mental trauma, mental torture. So that is why he is pondering, he is thinking. Not only that, he is thinking also of the risks and what could be the consequence if he assassinates the king. If the assassination of Duncan really does take place, what will be the risk that might crop up, or the results, the consequences of his action? So he wants that if this was the end of the matter, once the crime is committed and it ends there, then it should be done without delay. That means I kill Duncan and the matter stops there. Then there is no harm in carrying it out. We can do it immediately. But will it really happen like that, or many risks will crop up following the assassination of Duncan? So this is quite an important thing to ponder upon, and Macbeth does ponder on this. So he says that if the killing gives rise to severe consequences, severe results. And then if he gets absolute success, he is not hesitant to carry out the deed. And if he were assured that he would be able to get through all the repercussions that might take place after the murder of Duncan in this life, he will be able to evade all the negative consequences, he will be able to evade them, then he does not need to worry. But he says this life is nothing, it is very insignificant, it is like a narrow bank in the vast ocean of eternity, and he is not bothered about what might happen to him in his future life. This life is of more importance to him. He is not bothered about what might happen to him in the future life or what punishment he might get after death. He is not bothered about that. He is bothered about this life. That means whether he will be able to sail through peacefully after committing the murder of Duncan and become the king, because that is the reason why he wants to contemplate on this murder. So that means if I become king without any opposition after the assassination of Duncan, I am ready to do it. But he is also aware that we receive punishment for some crime on this earth itself. So it's not that always we get punished after life. There are often, we have often seen that you have committed a crime and you get punished in this life itself. And the bloody purposes which one accomplishes, means the bloody purpose means the killing of Duncan in order to become the king. So what happens? They bring mental torture on the person who carries these out. Not only that, the poisoner, it seems as if, drinks the poisoned cup. The poisoner himself will drink the poisoned cup. That means what you do will come back to you, like the third law of Newton. Equal and opposite reaction. Then what am I to do? So he seems not, he is hesitant, he is thoughtful, he doesn't want to act hastily or rashly. He wants to think of the consequences that might trammel up after the death of Duncan. And he is quite experienced to realize that once misdeeds, they come back to you and trouble you later. So we find Macbeth a contrast to his wife. Lady Macbeth wants, the moment she gets the letter and she gears herself up and is ready to carry on with the bloody deed, but Macbeth is not. He thinks on this. And then the remaining part of this soliloquy. This is a soliloquy of Macbeth. You know what a soliloquy means? A soliloquy is a speech which is delivered in the absence of anyone. The person himself delivers the speech and there is no one to listen to. He is talking to himself. So that is what we say a soliloquy. So this soliloquy of Macbeth is also important. Here, he is here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed. So what is he? He is the relative of Duncan, cousin of Duncan, and also his loyal subject. So in that case, Duncan is here in double trust. Strong both against the deed. So yes, the strong arguments against the deed means against the murder of Duncan. I should not murder Duncan. Why? First reason is that I am his relative and his loyal subject. So I shouldn't do it. Then as his host, who should against his murder shut the door, not bear the knife myself. And then another reason is he is my guest, I am his host. So what is expected of me is that I should protect him from murderers, not bear the knife myself and kill him. Very nice logic. Besides, in addition to all these, first is I am his relative, I am his subject. Second is he is my guest and I am his host. And another reason, besides this, Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek, he had been so clear in his great office. So Duncan had been in the height of his power also, he had been very meek, very timid. He was not an arrogant person. He was a good king. And so clear in his office. That means he was without any blame. He was blameless. You cannot say Duncan did this to me and Duncan did that to me negatively. So meek hath been so clear in his great office that his virtue would plead like angels, trumpet tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off. So Duncan had ruled so gently, he had been so spotless in his capacity as the king, that his good qualities, his virtues will plead like angels. They will plead or implore against the action of his murder. And pity is being personified, and pity like a newborn babe striding the blast, or heaven's cherubims horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air, shall blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears shall drown the wind. And then he says that pity will as if come like a newborn baby. Newborn baby is so innocent, so vulnerable, so defenseless. So pity will, like a newborn baby, rise above the storm like an angel. Pity is compared to heaven's angels, and will declare or broadcast this evil deed to everyone, that the meek and blameless Duncan has been killed. So pity will spread this news to everyone in such a way that people, they will have tears in their eyes will be filled with tears on hearing of this horrible deed. So, and the tears shall drown the wind. Tears shall drown the wind of anger, indignation. The wind of indignation will be drowned by the tears of pity coming forth from the eyes, whoever hear of the murder of Duncan. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition which overleaps itself and falls on the other. This phrase, vaulting ambition, you can underline it, and later, while characterization of Macbeth or any other question related to Macbeth, you can always use it in your answers. Vaulting ambition. So what is it? He says, I don't have any strong reasons to carry on this act of murder. Then why am I wanting to do it, or why am I thinking also of the murder? So my vaulting or soaring ambition, this, what happens, often leads people to go beyond their mark and then bring their downfall. So he knows that my vaulting ambition could be the reason of my downfall. Why? Because in going to murder Duncan, he might get caught. Later people might suspect and he might get caught. So vaulting ambition, my high soaring ambition. So what happens many times, high soaring ambition often crosses the limit, goes beyond your limit, and then brings your own downfall. He is a pragmatic person, he is a practical person, but then he has a wife also who is very different from him. So he has decided all this, he has thought on all this. So now what happens? Lady Macbeth comes. So when he sees Lady Macbeth, he asks, how now? What news? So what news are you bringing? Lady Macbeth, he has almost supped. Why have you left the chamber? So he has almost completed his supper. English people, British people, they call the last meal of the day supper, and what we say lunch, they say dinner and lunch. But Americans, they call this one only the dinner. And we also have a tendency to call the night meal as dinner and the afternoon meal as lunch. But English people, they always say supper, British people, and British English is the correct English. So Lady Macbeth is asking Macbeth, why did you leave the chamber? Hath he asked for me? So did he ask for me? Know you not he has, so don't you know that he has? You are the host. So it's very natural that he should ask about you. Macbeth, he tells his decision to Lady Macbeth. We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honoured me of late, and I have bought golden opinion from all sorts of people, which would be worn now in the newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. So Macbeth says, he tells his wife about his decision. He tells that we will not proceed any more in this murderous plan. He has conferred such a lot of honors on me, and I have also earned lots of respect and tributes from all sorts of people. Yes, Macbeth, the brave general, we are so proud of him. All the Scottish people are so proud of Macbeth. So he says, I want to enjoy this respect or popularity. I don't want to throw it away so early, because he knows after the murder of Duncan, the suspect is bound to fall on him, because in his castle only Duncan is murdered. And then he will become a villain in the eyes of many people, and he doesn't want that. And now see how Lady Macbeth will instigate him into action. Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it been sleeping? Hath it slept since? So Lady Macbeth now uses her vocal tonic. I always say vocal tonic. Tonic makes you feel better when you are weak. So this vocal tonic will make him also feel better. So she is asking, was this a drunken hope? That means the hope of a drunken person. A drunken person, when he is drunk, he will say many things. But once he falls asleep and when he wakes up, he forgets whatever he has said. So she is telling that when you had this hope, was it a drunken hope? That means, was it the hope of a drunken man? Wherein you dressed yourself. Hath it slept since? So, was your hope asleep? And wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? So, now have your hope woken up, and that is why it is looking in a pale and fearful manner at that thought which it had thought earlier so freely. That means when you were drunk, you had thought about it so freely, and now as if you have awakened from your sleep and you are afraid of committing it. So drunken people, they make a lot of promises when they are drunk. Then they fall asleep, and in the morning or when they wake up, they forget everything. So was your hope also like that when you had agreed to commit the murder? And now when you have awakened from your drunken stupor, and now you are afraid. From this time such I account thy love. Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act and valour as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, to live a coward in thine own esteem? Letting I dare not, wait upon I would, like the poor cat in the adage. So Lady Macbeth, my goodness, her reasons. So she says that from now I will consider your expressions of love for me as the drunken boastings, the talk of a drunken man. I won't trust you. When you tell me that I love you, I won't trust you. Why? I will consider, oh, this is a drunken man's rambling. And when he wakes from his drunken stupor, he will forget whatever he has said. So that means I won't give any importance when you talk to me of love. And Are you afeared? That means, are you afraid? To be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire. So, your desire is to become the king, but are you not resolute enough to achieve the fulfillment of your desire? Your desire is to become the king, but are you afraid to display what you desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem as the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem? So, you want the crown. You want the crown. You have a desire to have the crown on your head, but you remain a coward in your own eyes, and let your fears control your noble ambition. To become the king is nothing bad, or to desire to become the king is nothing bad. To have to think of a crown on your head is nothing bad. It's a noble ambition. But would you let your cheap fears make you look like a coward in your own eyes? So, do you want to be like the cat? So, the cat, the story goes that there was a cat who wanted the fish. The fish was most probably in some aquarium or a fishing bowl or somewhere in water, obviously. And the cat wants to eat the fish, and yet it is reluctant to wet its feet. Do you want to be like that? Letting I dare not dominate, I would become the king, and I dare not become the king. That means your fears, do you want to let your fears dominate over your noble ambition? Your noble ambition is to become the king, and do you want your fear to dominate? I dare not. Do you want your fear to dominate your noble ambition and stop you from becoming the king? Macbeth, prithee, peace. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. So he says, I just request you, please stop talking. I'm courageous enough to do all that a man can do, or what is expected of a man. And if anyone has more courage than I can do, that person is not a man. That means I can do whatever any man can do. What is in the powers of a man, what is expected of a man, I can do it. Someone who challenges to do more than what I can, that person is not a man. He is either a devil or a superhuman. Now, Lady Macbeth, further goadings. What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? So, what was this beast or animal within you that made you reveal this idea to me? This idea of murder? When you dost do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be much more the man. So, she tells that when you planned, or when you told me the idea of becoming the king by murdering Duncan, that time you were a man. You showed more manliness. You showed more powers of a man. And if you carry it out, you will be even more than a man. That means carry out means if you carry out the murder of Duncan, you will be considered a more manly person. Nor time nor place did then adhere, and yet you would make both. So that time when you made this plan, that time the place and time were not favorable for action, and now they have become favorable. Why? Because he has come to your house. He has come to your house, so the place is favorable, the time is favorable, he is sleeping. So very favorable time to go and murder him. The place favorable. Why? Because he is in your house. But when you had planned it, that time you never knew that he was going to he was going to pay a visit to your house. And then also you had planned, so that time you were a man. And if you carry out this plan of murdering him, then you will be an even greater man. and they have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. I have given suck and know how tender it is to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brain out, had I so sworn, as you have done to this. My God, what instigations! So she says that now that the time and place has become favorable, you have got this opportunity to carry out your plans, and now they have got on your nerves. Now you feel the horror of this action. Now you think of the consequences of this action. I have given suck to my baby, and I know how tender I feel when the baby is sucking from me. And yet, while my baby is looking at me, looking at my face and smiling, I would have taken it out from it, I would have drawn it out from myself and dashed its brains had I made a promise to do it. So she is trying to say how important promises are to her. To a mother, the child is an infant, a baby or a child is the most valuable thing, and yet she would be ready to sacrifice it if she had promised to do so. A small infant sucking from the mother, and she would take him away from her nipples and dash its brain while the baby was unsuspectingly looking at her face and smiling. And in that way, at that time she would dash his brains if she had promised. So she is trying to remind him the value of a promise made. Macbeth, if we should fail, so what will we do if we fail? We fail. So why do you think we should fail? But screw your courage to the sticking place, and we'll not fail. So she is boosting him up with courage. She is telling, why think of we fail? Just bring your courage to the last point. Ready to shoot. It is like an arrow, ready to shoot, and we will not fail. When Duncan is asleep, so this is the plan. When Duncan is asleep, where to rather shall his day's hard journey soundly invite him? Yes, and it is very natural that he will fall asleep fast because of the journey which he has undertaken. Yes, he has come from forest to Macbeth's castle, quite a long distance he has covered. So it is very natural that he will fall asleep fast. And when he is asleep, his two chamberlains will I with wine and vassals so convince that memory, the water of the brain, shall be a fume, and the receipt of reason a limbeck only. When in swinish sleep their drenched natures lie, as in a death, what cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan? What not put upon his spongy officers, who shall bear the guilt of our great quell? What a plan! So she says that I will give the two guards wine, the two guards who are to watch over Duncan when he is sleeping, the two guards in charge of Duncan's chamber. So I will give them wine in such a way that their memory will stop functioning, and memory or their brain will stop functioning, and when they will lie like pigs in a drunken fashion, they will lie fast asleep like pigs. Being drunk, when they will lie fast asleep like pigs, just like dead people. What is there which you and I cannot do? So once the guards of Duncan, they fall asleep being drunk and Duncan left unguarded, what are the things you and I cannot perform? That means everything is left free for us. No one is there to stop us from doing whatever we want with Duncan. Duncan is fast asleep. He wouldn't know what is happening. And the two guards who are supposed to keep watch over him, they will lie drunk just like pigs. They will be just like as if they are dead. So no one will be able to see our evil deed. And later what will happen? All the blame will fall on these spongy. Spongy means drunken officers. You have read it in Merchant of Venice. Remember one of Portia's suitors who would just drink every time, and Portia said that I wouldn't want to get married to a sponge. So like sponge holds all the water, so these drunken people, they take within themselves a lot of wine, drink. So the spongy officers means the drunk officers. So the blame will fall on them that in their drunken feet they had murdered Duncan. So what we have done, they will have to take the blame for it. What not put upon his spongy officers, who shall bear the guilt of our great quell. So we can put the blame of our murder on these two spongy officers. Macbeth, bring forth men children only. So Macbeth is now highly inspired. So he says that you should give birth only to male children, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but males. Will it not be received when we have marked with blood those sleepy two of his own chamber, and use their very daggers that they have done it? So Macbeth says that you are only fit, or your courage shows that you are fit only to be the mother of no one else but men. And won't people accept this fact that when we have smeared the guards with Duncan's blood and use the daggers of these two guards only as the murder weapon, wouldn't people accept it as true that these two have done the deed? Wouldn't this fact be accepted as the truth that the two guards have done it, because we will smear them with the blood of Duncan and use their daggers only and then put it beside them? So wouldn't this fact be accepted? Who dares receive it other? And we shall make our griefs and clamours roar upon his death. Lady Macbeth is very, very clever. So she says, who will be taking it otherwise? That means everyone will accept it. No one will disagree. Everyone will accept it. And especially we will make such a hue and cry, we will show our sadness by wailing and crying out on the death of Duncan, that no one will suspect us. We will show ourselves so sad at his death that everyone will accept it, that these two guards have done and we have no hand in it. But not everyone are fools. There are some who will start suspecting him. The two sons of Duncan, then one Lord Macduff, the Thane of Fife, even Banquo suspects. So quite a few suspect. So they don't go for a free goal. And first ones to suspect him are the two sons of Duncan, and naturally they leave the chamber without bidding farewell to the host, because they know that if my father, who is the king, can be killed, what value our lives have here? We are not safe. If our king, if the king, our father, was murdered here, how can we be safe? So they understand, and immediately they run out of Macbeth's castle. Two in two different directions. One goes to England and the other to some other place. So Macbeth now is resolute. The little wavering of his mind in the beginning stages Lady Macbeth has been able to bring his courage back and has been able to make him agree to carry out with the deed. So now he says, I am settled and bent up, each corporal agent to this terrible feat. Away and mock the time with fairest show. False face must hide what the false heart doth know. So Macbeth is now resolute, he has made up his mind, and every part of his body is ready to do the terrible task, terrible deed. Yes. And he says that let us go away and mock the time. So let us go and deceive the people with fairest show, trying to show our innocence. False face must hide what the false heart doth know. Heart both doth know. It should be doth know. Okay. So false face means we should act cheerfully and try to hide the wicked thoughts which are in our mind. Something similar has been said. Look like the innocent flower but be the serpent inside. So here also something similar. False face must hide what the false heart doth know. What is in our mind or heart, let that not be known. Let it be hidden by our cheerful smile. So let us act cheerfully and let no one suspect what murderous thoughts are in our mind. So this is where Act 1, Scene 7 comes to an end. So this is where the conflict of Macbeth becomes evident. In the initial stages he is reluctant, he doesn't want to do it, and he tells his wife, but Lady Macbeth, she instigates him, she gives such strong advices, strong recommendations, strong vocal tonic, as I always say, like that one, that if I had promised to do it, I would suck the baby from the baby while it is sucking from me. I would take it away from me and dash its brains if I had promised. So she is trying to make Macbeth realize the value of a promise, and she hits his manliness, that you are a coward. Your words are like the words of a drunken person. So much so that Macbeth finally agrees to do the deed. And yes, false face must hide what the false heart doth know. So this is like fair is foul and foul is fair. Act 1, Scene 1. And this is where your Act 1 comes to an end. So many of you had asked me for this, you all have in your half yearly and all that. So we are done with it. So yes, let me know how you all have liked it, and also bye for the time being.